been a minute, but I am back. And we are about to talk corruption on Sincerely the Corrupt Podcast, Episode 7. Welcome back to Sincerely the Corrupt Podcast, Episode 7. This podcast is going to be a follow-up on the Episode 6 that was about the Laclede County assault. I know I haven't been here for a minute, but like I always say, I'm always working. So I know I always say this too, but this is not my primary job. So there's lots of other work that I have to do, but in the same sense, I'm working these things when you're not seeing me online or podcasting. I'm still working these things. So lots of things have happened since the last podcast, and it's really time for me to do a follow-up. It's almost time for me to do 2 follow-ups probably. So I want to dive into what has happened since, because I'm really frustrated. And I'm really frustrated with why it is so hard for me to find that moral, ethical person within our officials that will help me help some senior citizens in this community. I just simply don't understand that. And I want to make it clear that I'm dealing with our county, not our city, with our county. I also want to make it clear in this podcast that remember that these cases that I'm helping with, they've already been through the system. They have victims that have came to me. And so I do not believe that when we've had a lot going on in our community, and I do not believe that when something immediately happens that all the public has the right to all the information. That's not something I believe. I believe that would be sacred to the victim's family. I believe that that is something that has to be protected so that it's done correctly and so that things can move through the system appropriately. And I believe that's the family's right to watch. It's not really our right. Now, I do get the point to where we're talking about, is there a public concern? Could they speak to us more? We have seen them out there. We have seen them communicating, guys. So please keep in mind that I don't condone that, but I understand the nervousness that can happen when we have so much issues going on in our community. But do remember, this case has already went through the system. It just failed miserably. And so this is what I'm talking about. Why do we have so many that go through the system that become so problematic and that we're not actually seeing criminals put away? That's my issue. I'm going to touch back just barely. So if you have not seen episode 6, you're going to want to, because it might be a little confusing if you don't watch episode 6 first. This is going to be a follow-up on that, and this is regarding the assault that occurred on Jeff Reed on Pine Tree, Falcon Road, and it also is going to be referring to the harassment that ensued on Kevin and Anita Reed thereafter. And what I mean by that, I'm going to give you a little trail for a quick second, just a quick reminder, but remember that this incident occurred in 2020. And during that time, nothing was happening. No charges were getting filed, so Kevin and Anita Reed were pushing for charges. And during that time, when they started pushing for charges, that is when harassment ensued. They had a car that was shut up in their yard, in their front yard with a pellet gun. They had their storage unit broken into. They had people driving by their home, taking videos of them that there's evidence of. And these are the only things that there was actual evidence of that they were able to take and report to our sheriff department, even though there were several other things that they tried to report but weren't allowed to for some reason. Weird. That all had occurred. And then in 2023, they eventually charged them. Kevin and Anita did not stop. Anita, she did not stop. She pushed and pushed. I think a lot of the times, sometimes we want to shove things under the rug for some reason, and I don't know why. And they get really annoyed by people that won't stop talking about it. So they ended up having the hearing and the preliminary hearing, and there were individuals there. I've spoke to individuals that were there, and it was dismissed for lack of evidence. Part of the reasoning being was that, and remember guys, before I even started that initial podcast, when these senior citizens in this community showed me this, it actually wasn't somebody else first, but when I saw this, blew my mind, blew my mind. So I immediately called our officials because my mindset at that time frame, I had already dipped into a case out of Salem, which is mind blowing because I've just been reached out to about Salem again. I'll probably have some guests on in not too long. Seems like Salem is not doing so good these days. And I called them because I was just sure that in my community that I live in, that I've been raised in, I love this community. I want to help people. That's my goal. That's what I love to do. I was just sure that that wasn't going to happen here. I was just sure that I was going to find somebody that was going to help me with this situation. So I called and I spoke with our sheriff. I sent him all the evidence that we had. He had already seen it. He was actually involved during that case, during that time. And there were other evidence that I had gathered that I was able to send to him. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. I just got blown under the rug again. So I podcasted and I told you guys about it. After that, this is the follow-up. This is where we're now to, right? And so after I podcasted this story, I always knew Jeff Reed has his issues, guys. He has his issues. He's addicted to drugs. He's working on it. I, for the first time, talked to him recently. He sounded really healthy. And I was really happy about that. Because if you watch a documentary, Dope Sick, you would have a better understanding of what we've done in this country. And what we've done with pharmaceuticals. And what we've done for profit gain. And I am not saying to enable the drug addict. That's not what I believe. If you're close to me, you know I've never believed that. And I'm not one that's ever going to do it. I believe in empowering them with the ability to come out of it. But we're not doing that for some reason. For some reason, our system just funnels them in and out, in and out, in and out. Probation, wear them out, back to jail. Probation, wear them out, back to jail. Probation, wear them out, back to jail. It's almost like we got a probation funneling ring or something. It's weird. It's weird. And you'll actually see that in other counties. Lots of things are happening everywhere. And it's weird how sometimes when you look at other places and what they're finding out, it's like, But I always knew that Jeff Reed could get in trouble again. That I'm not an idiot. I was not thinking that Jeff Reed was going to turn into a saint and an angel overnight and that he was going to help us with this and be, I didn't think that because I understand drug addiction. I do. I have never treated drug addiction. I don't treat drug addiction ever. I haven't in my career. But in the ER, you see it all the time. And you know that unless they are ready, unless they are willing, and unless they have resources and help around them, they don't succeed. They just don't succeed. And so I never expected that he was going to be a straight-laced man. Let's be real. What happened... His truck caught on fire. I did not believe this to be malicious intent because they had actually been working on his fuel line that day. And so after they had worked on his fuel line, his truck caught on fire. So that week, he missed a probation parole appointment to where he is supposed to do a check-in. Didn't show up. So then a warrant goes out for his arrest. However, keep in mind, no new crime has happened except he didn't show up for the probation parole. He has not assaulted anyone. He has not injured anyone. He has never been in trouble for assault or injuring anybody else. And so this time, when they put a warrant out for his arrest, they put beside it danger to others. Okay. I can't help but wonder. Was it because of my podcast? Because I can't think of another reason what would make him a danger to others. He was out. He was already out on probation and parole. So if he was a danger to others, that's on you. And he didn't do anything else during that time frame that would consider him a danger to others. I was confused about that. So then after that, and it's even when I was discussing this, and I said he has to show up. That's like he should have showed up. I get that. He should have showed up. And now he has consequences for that. I get that. But guys, do you understand the issues that have came up in this area with this? Like I feel like I'm seeing retaliatory behavior. And I don't like it. It puts a dirty taste in my mouth. I don't like it. And I feel like I've seen some retaliatory arrests that was just like, did I just see that? And I don't like it. And there's a lot of things that I'm finding, and I am diligent. I dig. I don't like superficial opinions. A lot of people have them. They want to look at a story real quick and say, yeah, that happened. Oh, stop. Dig. Look. And if you're going to listen to somebody superficially, don't give them an opinion. That's what I feel. It's truly how I feel. So after that, when they put the warrant out for his arrest, it was a Friday night, about 10:45 p.m., sheriff deputies arrived at Kevin and Anita's home. 2 in the front, 2 were in their field with flashlights. She videoed. She's good at that. I'm glad she does it. And if you guys don't like it, that's stupid. It's transparency, right? It's the same thing that every one of these officials are screaming on a national level that they want to see. No politics in our judicial system. We should not have that going on. We want full transparency. We want Doge everywhere but here. Make that make sense. We want that everywhere but here. Guys, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. So they showed up to Kevin and Anita's home to search for Jeff Reed at 10:45 in the evening. She let them in. She was very polite. She did ask for them to identify themselves, and one of them decided that he didn't want to say it on camera, so he's going to write it down for her. You're a public official. Why are you scared about that? If you're doing your job right, do it right. Say your name. Say your name. It's okay. It's okay if you're just doing your job right. Why are we nervous with cameras? I don't get that. You know, I was watching, there's a new show out, I actually like it, Ozark Law, out of Lake Ozark. I have not been able to dig into this really well, but I'll tell you, I watched that show. I don't see anything wrong with that show. And I'll tell you that I believe it's hard to hide temperament. I believe it's really hard to hide temperament. And when I was watching that show, it was hard for me after the first, third episode, because I realized that the one person in there I loved the most, there's a few of them, I loved her the most, was the one that we had lost, because you could see her temperament. And I believe that temperament is hard to fake. I just do. I may be wrong, but when you look up crime stats and you look up Lake Ozark against us, you look at the difference. Now, what's funny is that I'm going to trace off here a little bit, because I want to explain this too. When I was digging into Lake Ozark a little bit, and I was only able to do it for an afternoon, I get to where I struggle with this sometimes. I struggle with what I do, because there's always a radicalist side. There's always radicalism happening, right? And so when I started looking into Lake Ozark, I look up this auditor, right, that went to Lake Ozark in front of a bank, mask on his face. Maybe they're going to hate me for this afterwards. I don't care. I just say the truth. But standing in front of a bank, and yes, he was unlawfully detained that day. I watched the video. I watched it. But come on, guys. Come on. You know, we have deeper problems than stringing up a cop who is simply trying to protect civilians that are working in a bank. And when you see somebody with a mask on in front of the bank, I'm likely going to call on you. I've said it 1,000 times. My issue is that I've seen several professional auditors that do this respectfully and professionally, and they will go in and show you what happens when they try to get a sunshine request, right? You get blocked by every level. They're fighting some real corruption, and a lot of the times it's why they go there. So I have seen some very respectable professional audits, but sometimes, guys, it's almost like, if you really want to audit a place, look at the crime map. Go there. Go those places. You know, I think that's awful. I think that's awful that we do that at a bank. I think it's antagonizing at every level, and I think that's the radicalist aspect of what I do. I just think that's wrong. However, we have problems. We have big problems whenever we have deputies that are going to a place of senior citizens that have already been harassed. They've already reported it to their sheriff department multiple occasions. Nobody came to help them, right? But now they're showing up for a warrant, and they've never done that before. So Monday morning comes around. That happened on a Friday night, 10:45 in the evening, and I was not happy. I am a redhead. Yep, I was hot. So respectfully and professionally, I went to our city hall, and I started sunshine requesting. I will say this. Our circuit clerk's office, although they looked bamfuzzled when I first did it, they did the right thing. Immediately sent me an email, forwarded it to where they thought was the proper place to go, and gave me that information. That's what's supposed to happen. My issue that day was the looks that I got just by walking in the door, because I know everybody in the city hall and know that I'm podcasting this and know I have an issue with this case and I'm trying to help these senior citizens. And what I'm frustrated with is that they don't even realize that they are cultured and trained to protect the system, not the citizens. The system, not the citizens. Just like healthcare. I just came out of healthcare, right? That's what happens. A lot of the times, things will happen in the hospital y'all will never be privy to because they're going to go right to HR and make sure our lawyers are on it before you even know what happened. And you may never know what happened because we hire people to protect systems. But now it's so overgrown that all they're doing is protecting systems, not citizens. Problem. And if you're in that, I don't judge you. I did it for a minute because you don't realize you're funneled in a system where you're trained that way, but wake up, guys. And I truly believe that the problem that we have with sunshine requests and things like this is that for so long, nobody knew that we could do this. Nobody knew that we could go request information that they have got to give us. And we have the right to that. So it's not really happened. These kinds of things that I'm talking about have been going on for a very, very long time. Very long time. What I have found is not new corruption. No. It doesn't stem from our new officers or our detectives or our police officers, or that's a superficial look, right? When we want to say, oh, it's our police officers or it's our mayor, that's superficial. You got to look, you got to dig, and it's been around for a while. My issue is that I don't think they're up to par with knowing what sunshine requests and things are. And that's why we're having such an issue with it. So that day, after I leave the county or the city hall, I go to the sheriff department. I have a sit down with our sheriff. We talked for about an hour. I was not happy. Very respectable conversation. He was very respectable to me. I don't have a dis-hate or thing for him. I don't. My questions were that day when I walked into that office, and this is how I started this conversation, was how many times has Jeff Reed had a warrant out for his arrest in the past? Looks on his computer, scrolls down, lots of times. Then my question was, how many times has Jeff Reed had a different address? Or has it always been the same address on these warrants? Same address. This is where I thought it clicked. And then I said, how many times have we sent sheriff deputies to Kevin and Anita Reed's home to look for said Jeff Reed? Never. Here's what I'm going to say here. That angered me. And I think it got my point when I said that one. And it's retaliation, in my opinion. It is. And I'm the one podcasting. Come at me. I'm the one podcasting. I'm the one telling the truth here. I'm the one that's coming on here and fighting for these senior citizens. And they have already been harassed. So in my opinion, all they did in that moment was continue the harassment on senior citizens that have not got any support or help from our sheriff department. And that's what I said. Because if you'll remember back, I told our sheriff that day, these individuals have reported harassment over and over to your department. Not once did a sheriff deputy come out and say, hey, let me give you some extra patrol. Let me do some extra looking around for you. I know it's hard to prove, but nothing. No. They got this much support. And I'm afraid that we even had CAD notes changed to that time. You know, I see what's happening. I don't go digging out old police officers or anything like that. I haven't talked to any old police officers in this area, but I do know we lost some really good ones. And now I really want to know why. And every time that I look, I find something else. That's the truth. And I have an issue with that. And so I informed our sheriff that now I was going to need to report this to our Department of Senior Services. I do not like harassment on senior citizens, and I cannot believe that we have officials playing a game that allows it to happen to. And that made me angry. And that might have been a big mistake. Mistake or not, it should never happen again. It should never, ever happen again. even after this conversation, because if you remember back, the whole thing they try to say with this preliminary hearing was that Jeff Reed got on the stand and that, you know, they had grown out his beard and everything else. And when they asked Jeff Reed who the assailant was, Jeff Reed's like, well, I don't know. I think it's him. Here's my issue. We don't rely on drug addicts to put away criminals. We rely on the officials that we elect and we put in place to put away criminals, not the other drug addicts, right? It shouldn't matter what he said. That's a filibustering statement. You guys got to learn what that means and you got to learn to identify that, because they do that a lot. And they'll give you a dumb excuse, and it's not an excuse that's good, because the state should have took that up. State should have took it up. It didn't matter at that point. And then the first thing that I sunshined from our circuit clerk was the preliminary hearing. I requested all the documentation regarding the preliminary hearing in that case. And when I got stuff back, what I got back was a docket that said all charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. That's all I got. There was no evidence of an actual preliminary hearing actually happening, no recorded anything that I got, no documents that I got, nothing that I got. And so we get conflicting stories. Was I denied or was I not? And when I submitted the sunshine request, I included my statutes that allows the victims the right to see these things. And I also included a statute that asked for, if my request was denied, please provide me with a lawful statute of why my request was denied and why these citizens are not allowed to see the result, their preliminary hearing documentation. I didn't get that. Not at all. I got nothing about that preliminary hearing. And so now sometimes they'll say, well, there is nothing there. Well, is there something there or is there not? Is there or is there not? There should be. But that's strange how that occurred. But that day that I was sitting with our sheriff, we had all these conversations, and he brought up the point that, he had a gentleman one time that had been shot that didn't want to give up his assailant. He's like, what do I do at this point? And I looked at him and I said, if you'd have figured out who it was yourself, what would you have done? Arrested him anyways, right? That's how I know that's a filibustering comment. And a lot of that happened during these conversations because that's what I'm getting. I'm getting yes man phrases. Initially I felt like, yes, he's going to go do something. He's going to go talk to somebody. But for some reason, when he goes and talks to somebody, he comes back and can't help you. I know, I can't help you. Can't help you. Who's the problem? Who is it really? Is it in our prosecutor's office? Where is it? So I'm frustrated that I can't get help. After that, I've been on the phone with our commissioner. I don't dislike him either. Had a very respectable conversation. I realized that there's only certain things that these elected officials can do, right? I get that. We had a very long conversation. I am upset. But all I'm getting is yes, man. Yes, man, yes, man. And my question was, when he responded, like, I get it. But I can't do this. I can't do that. And my response, who can? Who do I go to in this town? Who is the official that I'm going to go to that's going to have the moral and the ethics that are going to help me take care of these senior citizens and assure that this harassment stops? Who? And what did we elect you for? Well, budget, finances, things like that, right? My issue was in that moment was that we were going to be speaking at a county commissioner meeting. I am having a lot of issues getting my sunshine requests. But right now my issue is in the county clerk, not the circuit clerk. They followed through. Problem is, I think it's a lack of knowledge. I'm not trying to be a jerk. That's why I've not blown it back up, calling her idiot, anything else. I spoke to our commissioner and I spoke to him about the sunshine request. And I literally said this. This is the statute. This is what we're lawfully to be able to get. And if you told me that if we hung up this phone and tomorrow you're going to go in and you're going to ensure that these people are up to date on what a sunshine law is, that they can treat us respectfully when we ask for it, that's okay too. Nobody has to glare at me when I walk in the door or give me a dirty look when I haven't done anything to you. Nobody has to do that. And it's the right of the citizens, and they work for us. I said, if you will tell me right now that you will get off this phone and you will handle that, it'll be done. Resolution, right? Problem solved. Well, that conversation happened 2 weeks ago now. I still don't have a sunshine request or a response. And I was denied the right to speak at a county meeting, even though he told me that I was very articulate and professional. I had no intention of going to bash any individual names or any individuals, period, even though I'm upset at some. No intentions of that. I had intentions of expressing the grievances of these senior citizens in our community and why I cannot obtain sunshine requests from our county clerk, who would have been sitting in that county commissioner meeting appropriately. But we were denied. I don't get it. I don't get it. They're yes men. We got to start caring who we put in these places, and not just that. Because some of these guys, I believe, are good enough that if they had the backing of the citizens, and if we became more aware and said, we support you, they would become less yes man. I believe that. I do believe that. I believe we have those kind of officials in there, but they are strong-armed at everywhere they turn. And I just don't get where it's coming from. And then let's talk about what's happened when Jeffrey gets picked up, right? Jeffrey gets picked up, put back in jail, not given his meds. What is so hard about giving these guys their meds? I realize we are contracted with a medical facility. I mentioned this that day. He got mad. That's not me. That's you contract them. Who chooses them? And we got to start looking at that, guys, because there are so many companies out there that just want to come up and make a buck, and they're not here to take care of your communities. And it sounds like we have one of those managing our jails right now, in my opinion. It just sounds like that. I'm not talking about drugs like Percocet, Oxycontin, Gabapentin. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about metoprolol, lisinopril, seizure medications. I'm talking about meds that if you hold off on, they can go into hypertensive crisis or atrial fibrillation or have a seizure that's going to harm them. And so now we put them in our jail systems. We don't get them all the actual meds that they need. Not that I'm a big med believer, but when you're on them for a reason. And even when you go to natural ways, you can't just stop them immediately. That's dangerous. And it happened to Jeff last time. Remember that after this assault, he gets taken to the hospital where he's refused services and x-rays of what he was complaining for. Then he gets taken to the jail, strapped to a chair, because he wanted his leg examined. Then he's not given his blood pressure medicine. Turns out he had a broken leg, and then he goes into atrial fibrillation because they stopped giving him his medicine. What did that do to the taxpayers? What do you think that caused us? A hospital visit. We had to pay for that. Why do we not foresee that it costs more money to do stupid things? Why do we not foresee that? Not only that, but these are still human beings that have the right to take their medicine. And if you have, this is my opinion, if you've got a medical facility that is contracted with you that is leaving patients without meds and you are refusing to allow their primary care doctors to step in and do anything, that's negligence in my opinion. It's not medical care. What do they when they just come in the system, they become non-people? It's not how that works. Not how that works. And so all of these conversations have happened. All of these sunshine requests have been put out there. I've got some of them back. Some of them are quickly responsive. But the county has not been. That's the truth. The county has not been. And I may even put some more in. We'll see. We're going to get them used to it. They need to learn the process. But I think it's important that we also understand that Department of Adult Senior Services hotline showed up at Anita and Kevin Reed's home to do an interview about the harassment that's been on our senior citizens. I was grateful for that. Very grateful for that. Nobody should live in this kind of fear of other citizens in our community. They should especially not live in fear of other citizens while they're getting no support from our department and then have to fear our sheriff department as well. That should not happen. So I was very excited they were there. But then I learned, rumors fly, there's connections there. Imagine that. And I looked and I see it. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, we have just got things set up so perfect here, don't we? We just do. And after that, the very next day, their truck window gets shot out with a pellet gun. I will say I'm thankful for the deputy that showed up that day. They said he was very nice, very helpful, offered more patrol, all kinds of things. And so maybe that was because he's just simply a good officer. We have some of those. We have some of those that actually care. And I guarantee you, we have some of those that don't disagree with me. They won't be able to say it, but I guarantee you that. I guarantee you we have some that agree with me, and there are good ones. But nothing, guys, make this make sense. Make it make sense how this is going to happen, right? So then after the last hospitalization, and then they get the pellet gun shot out of their window, all the while, Jeff is now incarcerated again for his probation parole violation. And I mean, weird things are happening with that. That was kind of weird, kind of strange. That is where I get my opinion of retaliation. And while that is happening, he's not getting his meds. Nor are they transferring the money over, and I get it. I'm looking at this, and when they're telling me all this, what I see is a very poorly ran system. I don't even think that a lot of this is what's happened was intentional to Jeff. That's not the retaliatory factor that I'm saying, because unfortunately it's happening to a lot of people that go in there. Our jail systems are that bad. And I'll tell you, when I dipped in, remember, I first dipped to Salem. I'm not a fan of that either. Look at Dent County Jail is one of the worst jails in the USA. Well, when money is poured in, but not put back into the people or the services that we're trying to make, then we get run down systems, and somebody is banking. Some people are banking, but the people will always suffer. Remember that. And the community will always get worse, and the community will always get more crime. It will become a problem if we don't start finding this now. And we need to. My issue was Anita was trying to communicate. Can you please just let Greene County know that he needs his metoprolol? Can we just please? And we had an official that talked with her with such disgrace. It infuriated me. It infuriated me. I had to take a minute for that one. I had to take a minute because it made me so mad that an official is going to talk to an individual that is, you say, the comment that was made that really bothers me, your baby boy can take care of himself. In your hands, I don't think so. Nope. Not if it were my kid. No way. You strapped him in a chair with a broken leg. You didn't give him his meds the last time. He ended up with a hospitalization with hypertension and AFib. But now you're going to tell this woman that your baby boy can take care of himself. They want to protect systems. They don't want to take accountability for their actions in this. And that's the problem, right? That's what every system does. They'll make a mistake and then they'll backtrack. We didn't make a mistake. It wasn't us. I don't know what you're talking about. They will shove it under the rug because accountability, everybody is always afraid of a lawsuit. So they're never going to admit their fault. The problem with that comes in when you will never fix a problem without being accountable for it in the first place. So if we are taking no accountability, you will never fix anything. I could give you some examples. I saw it in healthcare every single day that I worked. Every day. This patient's mad. Okay, well, they don't know. If an accident happens, we're going to try hard not to tell you. Right? And then they're going to go to HR, and then they're going to go to the lawyer, and then we're going to be very careful how we communicate with you because you may have a lawsuit on us. It's where lives went. It's where the world's went. It's not right. And it's causing more problems than it is good. It is. You know, I don't even like the thought of suing a city or a county because that's the citizens of this community, right? But what you guys don't realize is your taxes. Something is very wrong happening here. Something is happening. Because our jails aren't taken care of. These guys aren't taken care of. We're not putting away actual criminals. We're funneling people through a probationary system, and we're keeping them drug addicts. We've done a great job of keeping them drug addicts. Why? When I talk about that documentary Dope Sick, guys, we got a settlement from Purdue Pharmacy, who was responsible for a lot of the oxycodone back in the 90s that said it was the safest pain medicine in all the world. We got to pay out of that here. What I'm hoping for is that we use it appropriately. And I see a lot of areas where I see we're focusing on drug rehabilitation and resources for these individuals because it is a hard road to live. And it's a hard road to come back out of, especially when you don't have support or resources. And keep in mind, like I've always said this, your brain, the frontal cortex of your brain is never fully formed until 25. When do you think these kids started drugs? So when you look at the research on drugs, right? You start drugs at 16, you stay at a mentality of 16 while you're doing drugs. You do not mature into adulthood. So now you've got a bunch of adults out there getting thrown in the system, and you want to tell people that actually want to help them and care about them, because it's not you, that your baby boy can take care of himself. That's what infuriates me, and that's what I think that we should not tolerate in this in this city or this county. And we should call it out when we see it. And we should start paying attention to officials. Do not just pick names. Don't. You know, when we had that meeting, he even told me, I'm not even going to be here after 4 years. If you don't want to be here, go now. Go now. We need somebody in that position that wants to be there, that wants to work for the citizens of this community and give us a safe place to live, work against these criminals, put people away like we're supposed to, and be a grateful, empathetic heart. The problem is, I've seen you be that person, so I don't want to sit here and say that you're all bad. The conversation that you had and that I heard, I'm not going to play it. I've thought about that. I'm not going to, because you're under a lot of pressure right now. I get that. This town is in bad shape, but hear me out, because I believe that some people are just yes man. And it makes me believe that maybe you're replaced there. We do that too. We got to start looking into officials, looking into elections, knowing who we're putting in place. We do not want yes men. We want people that will fight for the people. Because I'm still sitting here today after this long working this case, and you've heard everything I've done, sunshine requests, conversations. Not a single official in this community has reached out to me, said, how can I help? Not a single moral, ethical human being that's an official in this community has said, how can I help? Not one. So they're either yes man or they're compliant. One thing I want to leave with you guys today, because I'm going to leave this here. And this is for my grime junkies. I want you to look up this, because I have a problem with this too. And when I tell you guys this is rooted deep, I'm not lying to you. I feel like it is. And I feel like we have good people that may have turned a little bad. And I don't think they should be called out on everything, because you have one bad apple and it trickle-down effect. It affects everybody below them. You can turn a good person bad real quick. But I got a message. And I got a message that said, be very careful and don't get Jeffrey Winehoused. And I'm like, huh? Who's that? So I get on and I look this up and I dig. And there's all the evidence there, all the documents there. I'll let you guys look this up. Happened in St. Louis. But I do believe that we currently have a gentleman that is sitting in prison, sentenced to 30 years for a crime he did not commit, from somebody that is now landing themselves in Laclede County. Now, I just don't like that. I just don't like that. I also consider the individual that was involved in this, it was a whole issue, PTSD, these kind of things. I get that, but there's too much evidence. I don't know how I could live with myself if I was responsible for an innocent man being in prison for 30 years? Where's our humanity? Do we only care about money? Do we only care about money in this world anymore? Or do we care about the human being? Do we realize that money is fabricated? You cannot take that with you. All of these great things that we want to buy with all these things that we do and these addictions that we get, and then we get sucked into this corporate mindset. Do we not realize it's fabricated? And it has caused us to care more about the dollar bill than our next door neighbors. That has got to stop here. And we have got to start caring about humans, because when we do, the community gets healthier. The community becomes a better place to live. We do good things when good things are done. And we've got to start caring about who we put in place, and we got to start calling things out. We really do. I appreciate all of my supporters through this. This is not easy, but I'm going to be that girl all day long. I'm not going to stop talking for these senior citizens. But another thing that I've realized is that this happens a lot. And the amount of people that reached out to me, even regarding the same citizens that we're dealing with. Guys, I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten you. And I am so sorry that it's taking me this hard and long just to get this case resolved. I'm really sorry. But it's something deeper, and we got to figure it out. So I appreciate every single one of you that support me through this. And I hope you come back, because we will have episode 8. I hope it's not near as long as what it's been taking me, but episode 8 will be coming out soon. But thank you guys for tuning into episode 7. And pray for us. Shoot a message of encouragement, if you will. I don't want anybody to be loud that's going to be uncomfortable, and I realize that. But we appreciate any support that we get from this community. We truly do. So thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of Sincerely the Corrupt podcast.